Hey, hi, hello there. This is Tiny with the Dancer, and this is another anthropologist reacts to the Amberverse. Somebody asked me in my comments yesterday about my opinion on Amber threatening to sue Becky. I didn't know anything about it at the time, and I said as much in my reply to the comment. Since Alex Shook has put up a video about it, I watch Alex pretty regularly. I like him. I think he's a fun guy. And so I've already watched this video once, and there's stuff in here I want to talk about. So, that being said, I have sped Alex up to time 0.5. I don't want to make him go any faster. I don't usually have a hard time listening to him. I just want to get through the video faster. That's really all that is. So, let's get started here.
Hi guys, Alex here with a quick
Hi,
breaking news update.
You're my
Have you seen
bestie.
this community tab from Becky? It is absolutely outrageous. And here Amber was trying to convince us that there was some growth. And I was willing to give that to her because, you know, she wasn't sleeping in the same bed with Wifey.
Same.
We just put up our reaction video to her conversation with Wifey. Wifey
I haven't watched that yet.
Wifey tells us how she's feeling, ask her how she's doing. Maybe she just lied and said that she was fine. I don't know. But that relationship video was a little bit strange. Go ahead and watch the video if you want to hear more about that. They were quite casual. It seemed like this was a friendship. Like her relationship with Becky, it was like a roommate situation or a friendship situation for maybe the past couple of months after that love wore off. That was just kind of the vibes I was getting. That's interesting because she was just on the phone with Destiny talking about how perfect her relationship was with Wifey. You know, Amber, she will.
I think the important thing to remember from that particular statement is that Amber just got done dealing with Destiny's crap. I don't like Destiny, never have. And Destiny's live streams were obvious. So, but, you know, in all fairness, Amber called Destiny out and was like, you're not a good person either. And Destiny was like, you're right. You're right. So, you know, at least they're owning it. But I think it's important to keep the timeline in mind here with the Destiny live stream stuff. I don't have kind words to say about it.
Project a completely false narrative if that is what makes her look good. But in the end, telling the truth is what makes you look good. I mean, people don't really care about all of that. People have struggles in their relationship.
I don't think Amber can tell the truth. That's a personal thought, but there is something called compulsive lying, and I sometimes I feel like Amber literally cannot tell the truth. But anyway.
People have problems, and at the end of the day, they just don't like people who lie or project a false narrative. The truth is always the best option when dealing with the public. Let's take a look at this community tab from Becky. I've
never had to deal with it, so
speaking her truth, and I do hope that she comes on and puts Amber in her place once and for all. I mean, everybody really has her back because we've seen what she was put through. There is no questioning Becky's integrity on this because we've seen it with our own two eyes what Amber has put her through. Even though Amber wants to say what she put me through, girl, settle down. But Becky is actually being threatened that if she speaks her truth, Amber is going to go to, quote, the law. Take a look at this. 2 hours.
I want to move myself over real quick.
Kind of good, kind of back. So I've been threatened that if I speak on my truth, the law will be involved. That's completely ridiculous. I don't know where Amber's coming from with this, because even if this was the case, it would always be a civil matter, right? The only option that she could take is defamation. But I believe Becky. You would have to prove that this wasn't Becky's experience, and I just don't see Becky lying about that. There's nothing that the Popo would do, though, let's be real, for someone just making a video talking online about their experience. Amber has to realize has to roll off that this is Becky's experience. It's her experience too, and she's welcome to share that as well. But this is also Becky's experience. It's very narcissistic for her to take this all for herself. And this is just her experience. You can't talk about it. That's not how it works, Amber. This is Becky's experience as well. Look how I was publicly treated. Yeah, girl, we've seen it. We've seen it with our own two eyes. People have your back. Becky doesn't really have the burden of proof because it's already out there. I just wonder if she has anything worse than what we have seen, because what we have seen is pretty bad with the way that she would talk to Becky on the live streams post breakup, the way that she
Is there
exposed
another
Becky,
one
quote unquote,
already?
exposed Becky in one of her awful times, just so that people would talk about Becky instead of the drama that Amber was involved in. I've seen people speculating that Wifey and Amber broke up weeks ago, but she wanted to do this now to distract from the Destiny situation. Back during the 2019 days, she wanted to show Becky completely out of it so that that would be the focal point. But, you know, the truth will always come out. Look how I was publicly treated, but I'm being threatened with the law. I saw the breakup video, and the reason she's being so graceful with this
I moved myself so you can read that,
but this one somehow was. So that's kind of sad. I feel really bad for Becky because she already has low self-esteem.
And that is the most important part of the first message. There's two of them. Is that Becky's feelings are hurt, and I'm not saying they don't have a reason to be hurt, like, clearly. But timeline wise, it's important to keep in mind that Becky saw the breakup video between Amber and Wifey. That's the first time I've called it that. And Becky's feelings got hurt over that, because the breakup videos between Becky and Amber were terrible. Like, I don't know. They were bad. Amber has a completely different image of herself in her head than the rest of the world does. Anyway, so the timeline so far is that there was the Destiny live streams, and now there's the breakup, and now there's Becky's feelings are hurt over how this breakup is going versus how their breakup went. And these are important details to keep in mind for my argument later.
So to see Amber give Wifey much grace in this breakup when she wasn't offering that to Becky, perhaps Amberlynn saw herself as better than Becky, because Becky was from Kentucky and Amber has always been, you know, one that thinks she's better than like Southern people, or like the stereotype that she would think of, like backwoods, like Southerner. I'm not saying that all Southerners are backwoods or are somehow less than, but I think that that's how Amber looked at it, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is what was going through her head.
Do I think Amber looked down on Becky? I think it's very clear Amber looked down on Becky. Amber looked down on Becky on the regular. Amber thinks she's smarter than everybody. She clearly thought she was smarter than Becky, which was disproven in numerous videos that Amber posted. So that argument doesn't work. But do I think Amber thinks she's better than Becky? Yes. Do I think Amber thinks she has some kind of hold over Becky? Yeah, it kind of looks that way to me. Again, there's no proof of any of this. You can watch the videos if you want, but the accusations being made right now in these comments that are going to pop up, there's no proof for these. And that's important. I'm not calling Becky a liar. I'm saying there's no evidence that's been brought forward and presented to us, the audience, of the validity of these statements. That's not calling her a liar. Those are two separate statements. Anyway.
I did everything for her. Becky saw it. I mean, at the drop of a dime, you would go out and get her literally anything that she wanted from Walmart, food, everything. If she wanted to go to the ER, you would take her. You bathed her. Like, we've seen it, Becky. And just like always, I was treated like garbage.
Rag on a stick.
I suffer every day because of what I was put through, but I'm the one who has to stay quiet. How is that fair? This is absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, this is Becky's story, and she should feel free to share that. If I was her, just a little bit of advice to Becky, you are free to share your story. Don't worry about Amber threatening the law. There's nothing that they could do. There's no case here. The only thing that she could possibly do, right, is a civil case, because anybody can do that. But there is no case. This is your story. So
I agree with him there. There's nothing stopping Becky from coming forward. Even if Amber decided to go forward with the law, there's nothing you can do. You can maybe take it in front of Judge Judy, but Judge Judy's going to toss both of you out because this is ridiculous. And it's still a he said, she said, or I guess she said situation. So there's no case. And if Becky wanted to get on and make a video, if Becky wanted to get on and react to Amber's videos, you know, that would be kind of cool, actually. It won't ever happen, but it would be really kind of cool to have Becky go back through and do retro reacts to the Becky era. and just kind of do like a director's cut commentary style thing. Oh yeah, this is when this video was made, this was happening. That would be really interesting. But that's not what's happening here. And no, Amber doesn't have a leg to stand on, but we'll find out in a minute here that Becky has also threatened to go after Amber with the law over Amber running her mouth constantly. So
I'm glad that I actually waited a little bit to post this because Becky just posted again addressing Amber. So let's talk about that one as well. I mean, perfect timing. This is 1 minute ago. How do we do it?
Stuff moves so fast.
I mentioned the law first.
There we go.
My goodness. So Amber's like already contacting Becky about this community tab post.
Like, why is that the takeaway from that? The important thing here is that Becky admits that they were the first one to bring up the law. This is a completely different timeline than what we were given in the first one. I don't think Becky was being deceptive. I think it just didn't click. And I also think we as a community are misinterpreting the way that first post was meant to be taken.
Yes, back last September.
There's my AC.
So September 2022, because she wouldn't stop talking about me. This time, though, she said, if either of us talk about each other, we can get the law involved. I don't think that the law really cares about this situation at all. I mean, they're just going to look at this. I mean,
you just sign a contract, like a notarized contract, and who the hell would notarize that? Like, after you get done reading that, you're going to be like, no.
Know that there's a lot more here, but the cops are just going to look at this as a case of like bitter exes, right?
Yeah.
Talking crap about each other on
because that's
media.
what it is.
They don't give one iota about nonsense like this.
True.
They don't want to be bothered. This is a
True.
complete waste of time. Most of the time, they will just tell you,
I mean, it's clearly not a waste of our time, but it's a waste of their time.
I've heard this from other people because I'm not the type to call the cops. They tell you to just like turn off the computer because this is social media. This is not something that you
True.
need to be involved in. It's not your job.
True.
It's not like you're being harassed at your job, harassed.
I mean, it is technically Amber's job, but it's not Becky's.
At your home. No, this is something that you can just turn off. The only
True.
thing that they want to hear is if someone's being threatened physical violence. That's it. Anything outside of that, they don't want anything to do with it. It's just drama. That was just a few days ago since she texted me that. Okay, so Becky still is receiving texts from Amber. I feel like for her own mental health, she should just block Amber. They probably shouldn't be messaging each other. Becky, do what you want to do. Becky, do what you want to do. If you want to come on and talk about this situation, there's a lot of people that will have your back. There are some trolls that you're going to have to deal with. That just comes with the territory. And you know that already, I'm sure.
There's also going to be other people like me who are going to be like, hey, I don't necessarily not believe you, but I need to have a little bit more than just she said to make a decision one way or the other. Because right now I'm just Switzerland here having my chocolate and watching this go down.
You definitely know that already. You know, you can make a little bit of coin off of it. I know that you're struggling right now. That's fine. I respect that, and that's okay. She wanted that cleared up, so there you go. So
we have no reason to judge people going after coin.
It seems like Amber is trying to do damage control behind the scenes, get in Becky's head. I would tell Becky, block her, because you don't want to hear this. She's trying to tell you what to do again. She always has to have control of the narrative. That's how this works. And it just tells you like the narcissism with her threatening to get the law involved. Yeah, Becky did it first. It does feel like narcissism. This is my story. It's Becky's story too. You know, Amber had her chance to talk about Becky and trash Becky. She's already done it. Becky felt like she was out of options. I still feel the same way about the cops. They're not going to do anything. But how far did Becky go? I feel like Amber is trying to silence Becky because she doesn't want that narrative being put out there because people are going to believe Becky and they don't believe her. It's Becky's story too. And the truth will get out there one way or another. All right.
The important thing that he just said there is that people are going to believe Becky because they don't believe Amber. I'm not defending Amber. I am saying don't believe things just because you don't like Amber, which happens a lot. It's already happened twice in the community that I can think of, and both times people just went with it because they didn't like Amber so much that they were willing to believe anyone who would come forward and say something negative, even though one of them was completely fabricated. The weird messages that were completely fabricated, and all of the reaction channels made reactions to it before it was figured out. And the other one was that weird woman who was trying to pretend like she was Becky's mother's friend during the whole Becky's mom was sick thing. So, yeah. the community has a really bad habit of just, if anyone comes forward and says anything, and they can just be like, yeah, I knew Amber and XYZ. And so the community will just go with it. It's that's not how evidence works. Okay, so sorry I had to step away real quick. I had to take an important phone call, but it's over with now. And so what I was talking about before I had to do that is just that, you know, the community likes to take anything negative about Amber and just run with it without validating it a lot of times. Anyway, so that's my point. The other thing is people are like, oh, Amber's terrified, you know, she's probably quaking in her boots over this. And I mean, yeah, she is, because, or at least I believe that she would be. And I think it's a valid response to this. I mean, we just went through Destiny and her vomit dump, and, you know, everybody was just kind of eating that up, even though there wasn't anything new there. It was basically just Destiny sitting around confirming things that we already knew, and then calling Amber names, and then pulling phone pranks on her. And so, yeah, Amber's probably scared that Becky's going to do a tell-all as well. Whether Becky does or doesn't is up to Becky. And Becky does have a right to tell their story however they want to do it, or not tell their story if they don't want to, like trying to pressure somebody into doing things they don't want to do. But yeah, Amber is trying to control the narrative. That's clear, especially after the podcasting episode that got released yesterday. And a lot of people have pointed out how scripted it sounded, and there was so much like ass patting and no you, no you, no you. Oh. It was a little bit too much for me. So yeah, after Becky posted that initial post, I'm sure Amber, who apparently stalks everyone, I'm sure Amber did reach out, and Amber did try to control the narrative. However, things that we also need to remember about the timeline. There was a sock account that is associated with Amber, and I believe that it is probably Amber. I have, again, no evidence. But what is it, Tulips in Space or something like that? I thought it was a cute name, but I think it's cute in like a high school kind of way, but everything Amber does is kind of high schooly. But that person, whomever that might have been, left a comment on something that Becky posted about, remember, you two promised that you wouldn't talk about each other or else there'd be legal action, something like that. And I remember that being mentioned in Mr. Snowflake's video, that he was reading stuff on. And I don't remember what video it was. But I do remember that it was easily 2 weeks ago, if not 3. So this threat of the law isn't new. This is something that has been publicly mentioned at least once by Tulips in Space, who is totally not Amber. And so it is also clearly something that Amber and Becky have discussed. Probably Amber has discussed, and Becky has just been, please stop calling me. But it is something that has been brought up between the two of them prior to this as well, by Becky's own admission. And it was initiated. This whole concept of going after each other with the law was initiated by Becky back in September. Again, by Becky's own admission. Again, Amber was bad-mouthing the crap out of Becky. I don't blame her. I just want people to be aware of the timeline and how this has been playing out. This isn't a sudden thing. This didn't come out of the blue. It sounds like Becky saw the breakup video, got rightfully so pissed, and wanted to lash out at it. Again, I'm not blaming Becky, and is saying the reason why I haven't said anything before this is because I've been, you know, Amber and I are threatening each other with legal action if we talk about each other. That doesn't necessarily mean that, like, yesterday Amber called Becky and immediately said, if you talk about me, I'm going to send the cops after you. I'm going to get FBI Frank to come over there. It just sounds like that in the past they have discussed it, and it's the reason why Becky is maybe holding this in. That's more of the comment. And I think that's also why Amber, again, who is apparently stalking everyone, why Amber wanted Becky to clarify that, because Amber knows that people won't believe her. Amber knows that no one will believe anything that comes out of her mouth, and some people will continue to not believe things that come out of her mouth, even when Becky backs it up. And Becky says, to clarify, I am the one who first brought up the concept of the law back in September of 2022. So the timeline fits that. And this is Becky reacting to the interview with the girlfriend breakup video, and not a new sudden threat on Becky by Amber. This is something that they have discussed amongst themselves since last year. So there's that. And that's why I just kind of wanted to talk about this in particular, because I like Alex a lot. There's just a couple things that he is assuming that I don't think should be assumed to be true. Now that I've done all of that, do I think Becky should come forward and talk? If Becky wants to come forward and talk, Becky should come forward and talk. And as far as I'm aware, there is not a goddamn thing Amber could do about it other than make videos and be pissy. Amber, I guess, could try. Even a civil case. I don't even think there's a civil case. Because as long as Becky speaks to their experience, it's not any kind of accusation or defamation of Amber, because Becky can speak from Becky's experience, and that's Becky, not Amber. So I don't even think it even gets close to falling into the civil law there. Again, not a lawyer, but we can look things up on the internet. You know, it's not hard, because civil cases for defamation and slander probably pop up a lot because people get their feelings hurt. Again, are the cops going to step in? Absolutely not. I would actually like to hear either of them call the cops on this one, and I just want to listen to the phone conversation that ensues, because in my head it's going to be, hey, my ex-girlfriend's saying mean shit about me, and the cop's going to go, huh, that sucks for you, and then hangs up the phone. So those are my thoughts between this final little bit and the bit that I recorded before I had to go take that phone call. That's what I have to say about it. Yes, it's fun to have this. Yes, it's fun to talk about it. Should we instantaneously believe everything that is written about Amber? It's just because it's negative and we want to believe it? No, I want to see evidence if an accusation is being made. I know Alex said that Becky doesn't have to provide evidence because, like, Becky's character alone. Again, remember, Becky's not perfect, and Becky is also the same person that got online and with Eric and Ricky and shamed their ex-girlfriend by holding up dirty underwear and saying things that, you know, you probably say after you break up with somebody. So, you know, Becky's not innocent, I guess is my point. And that's it. I think at this point I'm just going to be repeating myself. So if you've made it this far in the conversation, feel free to leave a telephone emoji down in the comments section, because that phone call actually kind of threw me, and I hope I wrap this up in some coherent kind of way. And if you guys liked this, please like and subscribe. You guys are just blowing my channel up, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. I do have a couple like non-Amberlynn, non-F.A. Hayes content planned, just because people have been asking some questions about anthropology. And so I figured I'd take a moment and put on my teacher hat and make a real quick video. So I will see you guys in the next one.